Hello, everyone, and welcome to NapChat. And we got a great topic for you today, and of course, a great guest speaker, Rachel Nesmith. But before we get into that, we want to get into some little housekeeping items. All right, so with NapChat, there is no medical advice. Conversations are based on personal experience and peer support, not clinical recommendations. Always consult your doctor first. Always talk to your healthcare provider before making any changes to your treatment, medications, or routine. And we respect all journeys. Everyone's experience with narcolepsy or IH is unique and valid. Let's keep this a safe and supportive and empowering space. Recording. So yes, we do record these sessions. They're recorded so members who cannot attend live can watch later in our private NapChat digital community. If you prefer not to appear in the recording, please turn off your camera before or during the session. And then, of course, for participation, we'll allow our guest speaker to do, their presentation first. So everybody, we just ask you to mute yourselves. After Rachel's done with her presentation, we will then open up for a Q&A. So during that time, all participants just mute yourselves and then unmute yourself if you want to ask any questions during the Q&A session. If you don't even want to, be recorded, you don't want to use your voice, or chime in that way, you can actually submit your questions in the chat, and I'll be watching that, and I can ask those questions for you on your behalf. All right. And of course, the host of NapChat is, of course, yours truly, myself. I'm the program manager of PWN for PWN. And then, of course, we have Rachel Nesmith, who's also the co-host of NapChat and our guest speaker for tonight. And she's also one of our awesome volunteers for the Community Outreach Committee. All right, Rachel, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will let you take over. So let's see, to be able to share, you should see like a share button on your screen. It's sometimes a little green button on the bottom.
It may not be green, but
Are you like on a mobile device or a computer?
mobile device.
Mobile? That I'm not sure. And if not, then I, can grab it for you. But I was hoping, yeah, if you can share it, that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah,
It might even be at the top. Like, are you
It
on an iPhone?
it might be
yeah,
by the chat where you go into chat, like that participants chat. Yeah,
React. There's
should
the
be next to
chat.
share,
Yeah, right. I
but
am
maybe
on
not.
share. It says screen. So I just say,
And then yeah, you have to accept what screen maybe? I don't. That's PC though, so it's probably different.
okay. It says it's sharing my screen now.
Yeah, we're seeing
Yep, we
you seeing
are.
it
Oh, oh,
So,
or was.
so now
it
I,
disappeared.
okay, so I have to go to again.
You were
You got
almost
it.
there.
No worries, Rachel. It's all good.
And now I just go to my file.
Yep. Yeah, all right. Hey!
That would be.
Is that it right there? The SSI SSDI
Yeah,
application?
I think that's an older version of it. No, that's the. Yeah, I had a. This is just the first fragment. Oh, here. This
Woo!
one.
There we
Hmm.
go.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay, Rachel. You're good.
Okay, so yeah, how can I get? Yeah, just say present like this.
I feel like if you turn your phone or you have the rotation thing, that might make it landscape. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Oh, that's hey, I'm learning this new. I've actually never done one from the phone, so this helps
All
out a
right.
lot actually. And I'm sorry for everyone if we're all
Welcome.
learning right
Sorry.
now.
No, we'll
Okay.
all do it flawlessly now because of this. So thank you.
Well,
All
exactly. Then be able
right.
to teach other people.
Well, it's a learning curve. I'll try to go swiftly. Applying for Social Security disability benefits. It's a very long and difficult road. It's doable. It's a secret about me is that before I met the love of my life, I was married and divorced before. And I was poor before we got married. I was really poor after we got married. So when I was 24, the narcolepsy was so bad, I applied for disability and it took 2 years to get to the administrative law judge, but I finally won SSI back pay, but it was like $4,000 and then they immediately cut off benefits. So $4,000 for 4 years hardly seem like anything, but for me, SSI, they count your income. There are different types, SSI and SSDI, and I'm going to go through all that with you. But just so you know that, then again, when he left me, suddenly I had to apply all over again because I was on SSI. So I've gone through the legal process and won it twice. I'm no longer on it because I married a good one this time. And and doing a lot better. But I'm here to share my experience so that if you have to end up in this situation, you know your facts. So here you go. Applying for SSDI and SSI. SSI is needs based. You basically have to be far below the federal poverty line. I'm talking about like they don't want you to really be working at all or bringing in any money at all. Um, you can owe your like parents loans, but they expect you to be able to live off of next to nothing while you're not on benefits. Now, for most people, you do have work credits enough to get SSDI, which is more based on how much your income was. SSI is for anybody that meets the disability standards. Now, the determination process is as to whether or not you are disabled legally is the same. It just, once you're approved or disapproved for benefits, the processes are a little differently in how they pay out, but the determination is identical essentially. And they both, yes, they both based on your everything. But let me see. See. SSI eligibility is a lot stricter. You have to have limited income and resources, and I mean like they don't want you to ever have more than $2,000 in savings at any point in time. The efforts have gone into changing that, but things are not really looking up for people on disability in the current standpoint. U.S. citizen, only U.S. citizens and qualifying non-citizens can even be eligible. You have to meet the SSA Social Security Administration disability criteria, which means like you can't do much of anything let's just say like the person with narcolepsy that's constantly falling asleep on the job or having falls due to cataplexy or automatic behavior or they have to drive, those are very dangerous situations. And based on whether or not how are they responding to medications, all that goes into determination. And this is not based on your work history, so you can be like me, where I had only worked one job before I got really, really bad. I got narcolepsy while on my first job. So it was very shocking to happen so quickly. And yeah, so for SSDI, that's where most everybody will qualify for this is based on your income, your prior work experience, more of like the income you've earned before. And now you've paid plenty of Social Security taxes, and that goes into your savings account. So when they call Social Security an entitlement, remember, especially for SSDI, it is not. You paid into that. You have to meet the same SSA definition of disability as SSI only, and you cannot be in any sustained substantial activity, which means you cannot be working and earning an income. You might win $100, but you have to report like everything. Now, how to apply? Well, for most of us, it starts off. You debate whether or not how disabled you really are, and how hard of a time you're having, and how big of an economic crunch you're in for you to come to this very hard decision that you have to make. It's not easy always having to concede and give up on dreams that were meant for another life. So basically, they are pretty flexible on how you can apply, or they have been over the years. There's the online form, which pretty much all the government websites, especially Social Security, want you to handle your affairs online. And when things are going great and smooth, that's really awesome and a time saver and really convenient. Now, now you can do a phone application, which is a lot more personal, but it takes a whole lot more time to be on hold, especially since they get rid of more and more live agents on SSA 1-800 number. Yeah, you can there's not very many of these anymore, but in-person appointment at local Social Security offices, that's not typically done very often anymore. On occasion, they are, like when they will audit your bank accounts, and yes, they will audit your bank accounts on occasion. Provide medical and financial information, and I don't mean just a little bit. They're gonna want documents by your doctor, like what can and can't you do. Can you bend over and pick up objects repeatedly? How do all of your medical symptoms come together to create a mass disabling effect? Say you have multiple health conditions, not just narcolepsy, like even like fibromyalgia, or sometimes if you're you're dealing with obesity or depression, and all of these things can be conglomerated together by medical professionals to say, yes, this person is collectively disabled to the point of needing Social Security disability benefits. Now, you're going to need to require proof to prove to Social Security that beyond the shadow of a doubt, there's not going to be anybody really willing to hire you, or nor are you going to be able to maintain employment for any considerable amount of gainful amount of significant amount of time, and that your income is quite low. Usually there is no health insurance, and it's very hard for us to find health insurance at all. And they want to know all about your prior work history. And it's not whether or not you can continue to do the job that you're doing right now. It's about whether or not you're able to do your job and any job with lesser duties still. If you can sit at a desk and stamp a form every other minute, then that's going to be considered that yes, you can still work, even if you have a degree in computer science. And they're going to expect you to do that. stuff unless you can prove with your doctor saying no, less than sedentary ability to complete tasks safely. Like if you have a lot of a whole lot of cataplexy and periods of involuntary paralysis, especially if someone you get yelled at on the job and it triggers you, that could be a major concern on your mind. But it's very difficult and very detailed. You have to be in all your forms, and it does help. It does help to have an advocate with you, for you, even if it's just a loved one to come along to your appointments with you to help you keep notes. Now, the disability determination process, they have a set, they have 5 different cycles or decision points that they make as to whether or not your appeal will be granted or not, whether or not your application will be approved. And the typical process is your initial application, where you go in or fill out online your form. And you usually just you send in this is my doctor's information. It's best to send in everything that you can about your medical condition, and just know that you're most likely not going to get benefits immediately at this point. In about 2 or 3 months later, you will get that decision, and it almost always is negatory. Well, that's when you file for a reconsideration, which is a small form. It takes about 3 to 6 months, and they will reconsider it again with a different attorney will look over it. A different disability determinator will look over it, and at that point, they will either approve or deny you again. And this is where you actually have the biggest chance of winning your case, is on the third level. And that's where I won disability benefits twice, in 2006 and 2010. And for that, I did have an attorney just for SSI benefits both times. When you have an attorney, they do not collect any money until you win, and you win by you're able to pay them through the back pay that Social Security owes you for months that you had to live off of loans, off of fumes, off of savings. And from that, they take about 1/4 of the money, and you get about 75% of it in back pay. It's usually, for me, it's not a whole lot. It's for about 6 months to a year of suffering, sometimes 2 years of suffering. It might be $4,000 for that amount of a couple for a year or two, which isn't that much money for SSI, but that's the reality of the situation. And if you are disapproved, then you are then after you're let me see. Yeah, okay, this is the right one. Sorry. So that takes about the 2 years in the federal council. That court takes much more time. Usually it's about 3 or 4 years at that point. And if you are at the federal appeals court, you are then kicked off, you're denied again. That's when you have to go before the federal court and sue the federal government, and that's rarely done, and it doesn't usually succeed. But the most success would be the sweet spot with the administrative law judge, 9 to 24 months after you first apply. that's not easy at all. And once you win benefits, it's gonna typically for SSDI, it can be anywhere from 900 uh to 1200 a month, maybe slightly more. I don't think much more though. But for SSI only, I'm telling you, when I got it, it was like it was like $850. And that's like all you have. You get like under $200 in food stamps, but like they expect you to pay like any bills you have with that amount. It is ridiculously low. And on Medicaid, it's not very good at all. Yeah, and that's all you can get if you're on SSI only. If you're on SSDI, you can get Medicare, and if you're poor enough, also Medicaid. But you have to be able to have work credits and a work history that satisfies the requirements. So these are the different the appeals courts. So you request reconsideration. You request the hearing before administrative law judge. That's when you would bring your attorney in with you. You go to ask for an appeals council review, and the federal court district appeal is the final step, which usually is not positive in the client's decision. And this is like a graph of the same process. So doing this twice, I was able to learn that the detail in your journals of how your disability affects you day to day, the details there where all the pudding is. You want to go see your doctors regularly. Just because you are not have any health insurance, even if you have to go to your sleep doctor once a year and pay out of pocket, you're going to have to at least do that and at least be calling in and getting those appointments down, and that you are taking your medications and you are complying. They're going to want to be able to see any evidence that the doctor has of knowing that there's just no functional way for this person to be expected to stay alert during their job. And it's important that you do listen to your doctor and follow what they're asking you to, because if you don't, you look inconsistent in that you're not actually trying to do your best to be able and work. And anytime you get anything Social Security in the mail and you're trying to get benefits, or you're trying to do official business with the government, you need to respond as immediately as possible, because there usually are deadlines, if not penalties, for being even a couple days late. And yes, I would highly recommend getting not only an advocate friend, but also an attorney if possible. And a lot of times you don't have to pay until you win. And if you lose, you don't have to pay. So when you're really down and out and you really have tried and you're at your wits' end, you don't know how you're going to make it, and you have to apply for Social Security, SSI and or SSDI. It's not, and understand it's not an easy process, but narcolepsy is strong. We are tougher. You can't get through this, especially with proper support if you have family and friends. But all in all, the enormous amount of self-strength it takes to pull yourself up, even just begging for help you can be astonished by your inner guilt, as well as your inner resilience. You can really impress yourself. So yes, you do have to keep very good documentation. You want to keep records of everything. I still keep everything. and I got remarried. When you're at SSI, they count everything your spouse makes. So it's a very easy, like when I was with my first husband, how I got kicked off because he started making $10 an hour for the both of us. That's how low their income guidelines are. And it's really stuck in the dark ages, almost not worth it, you might say. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and it's a dynamic disorder. Different treatments come out, and life changes. Like my life got a billion times better once I got remarried, and I don't worry like where's my next box of mac and cheese gonna come from anymore. That life is over, but I will never forget where I came from and how I came from. And I also want to be an encourager. And since I went through all this pain and suffering, I might as well help somebody else out, even though it doesn't help me anymore. So that's a story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks, y'all. Any questions?
Thanks, Rachel.
Sure.
I know that I tried to get a lawyer and they told me, until the appeal and there's a hearing set up, they couldn't help.
Yeah.
I talked to like two at least. I talked to a third that just like in a conversation, but I sought out too, and they both were like, no, we don't. I think it's kind of different state to state a little bit, but the overall process is horrendous.
Yes. Let me see.
And Rachel, like, and I'm curious, because again, and I even seen in the chat, all the documentation, right, that you're needing to provide,
Yeah.
and right, and let's say though, yeah, you get a request, right, from the department that you have to react on, and let's say they're asking for documentation on something, and you send it. Did you have any issues where they were like, yeah, we didn't get it, but even though you have proof you sent it, or is it pretty solid? Oh, the reason why I ask is like I know like with when you're trying to do disability benefits, through your
Yeah.
employer, right, for short-term disability, that happens a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
They, for the most part, they're pretty okay-ish, but there are times when they will need you to resubmit in documents and say you're missing documents, or they're not supposed to count. They're not supposed to count a certain amount of the initial payback because it's for several months, for 9 months, and when in the middle of my like the divorce, they ended up counting it, and I had to like submit all kinds of bank documentation and just proof showing them, hey, I really did do this, and you really do have to pay me back. Yeah, because they kicked me off of the benefits, and because they illegally counted the money they had paid me back. So they ended up having to pay me back, but that took I had to have a ride down there to go get it done. And, I didn't have a husband or boyfriend at the time. I had a man that didn't want to be with me anymore that I had to like drag into to get rid of his name. So I was like, yeah, it is a tough process, but it helped me recover my life.
No, wow, yeah. That, I mean, that is a great way of putting it. I mean, because it takes a lot of
Yeah,
time, energy. I mean, like you're saying, sometimes it can go up to 3 years because you might be appealing, a decision, and then you might
yeah,
go to the third level of that. I mean, yeah, that just, I mean, that just sounds exhausting, and
yeah.
it does. And
It was.
why it's probably very
It
important to
was
have
for
like a
like
lawyer. What's that?
probably the most valuable thing out of it wasn't even the narcolepsy. It was the liver resections because the summer that my ex-husband abandoned me was the same summer I started getting really, really sick because of the fast growing liver tumors in that summer. So it was that time that this surgery normally is like worth like $450,000 at least. So it took a lot of begging and a lot of crying. Eventually we found a surgeon willing to save my life that summer. So I mean it's the amount of things that the government makes us jump through, and just other corporations. It's not necessarily one of full of compassion, and it's also not full of validation. You have to prove absolutely everything. Even when you have it in hand from one doctor, other doctors might see it, or they work for the army or in the government, and they will dismiss it.
Yeah, not to, well, on that front, I remember when I went to the state evaluation with the GP they had me go to, he like he listened to my heart and he did some basic stuff and
Yeah.
he's like, I know what's going on here. This is not cataplexy. This is Mayo Clinic got it all wrong. And I was like, so what is it then? And he wouldn't tell me. He's like, you can set up an appointment with me separately as a patient and I can, and I was just like, come on, this
Yeah.
is crazy. And also on another point,
I love it when they say it's not cataplex, even though they can't feel inside of our bodies when we have it.
yeah, oh man, the two lawyers though I talked to, I remember one of them mentioned that you have a better chance with applying with depression than you do with narcolepsy, which
That's
was
true. Anything mental,
ridiculous. I mean,
anything mental is easier.
yeah.
And that's kind of what I hear, like, just in the different chats, groups, on Facebook, like you see that kind of, somebody will mention that type of experience,
Huh?
right? That, it was the mental health disability that actually got them awarded
Yes.
the decision versus it being the actual sleep disorder. And you also kind of put in light for me, and again, I understand kind of like where the government's coming from, is proving without a doubt you cannot perform any type of job. In my mind, I was thinking like, and you made a good point, right? If you specialize and you got a degree in this, they're going to look for anything,
Yes. Walmart
right?
greeter.
Right, yeah, so exactly. I just never thought of it like that. So that's the
Yeah.
other thing of really just having your documentation. And again, I mean, to Solomon's point, having that medical professional that truly understands what cataplexy is. And again, if they're going to tell you that, not try to then get you to do an appointment with them, to be a regular patient with them, which you're already trying to get money. Like this is the whole reason why you're trying to get Social Security is because you need the money. And then you got a doctor saying, well, why don't you come spend some of that money with me if you actually
Yeah.
want to talk about if you have cataplexy or not. That's messed up.
Well, he's
That's
not.
good to know.
They're using a doctor to their benefit. If Social Security has you come to a doctor, they're usually like doctors with TRICARE for the military, and they will dismiss anything. They usually are general practitioners and don't know anything about sleep medicine, and they're already against narcolepsy because the military does not like anybody to have narcolepsy. So like a lot of times you might even think like, well, sleep disorders that's just like sissy stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's sad.
Oh,
I mean, really, yeah, for what we go through, I mean, people don't understand that. And it's really fascinating because, it's the military that did the sleep deprivation experiments, right?
right.
They should have a more understanding of what sleep deprivation is like. But again, it goes back to that's why we're all involved in the community, right? Is we're out trying to get people educated everywhere about this
Yeah.
is what narcolepsy and IH is all about. It's about we got sleep deprivation. Okay,
Yeah.
we're suffering with that daily sleep deprivation, and
Yes.
we have our good days, we have our mid days, and we have our bad days. and those bad days can mimic so many things, or they can also accelerate maybe your depression that you've already been diagnosed with, or your anxiety. It could exacerbate it, right? It could make it worse. I mean, those are some of the things I think about, that I wish people would have a more understanding about, our sleep disorders.
Yes. And I mean, I was always thought I was fortunate to be in one of the most conservative like districts for Social Security and still got the positive decision. But yeah, I mean, you grow up your whole life thinking that there are these significant safety nets, but there really aren't. I would say the most important thing in your life would be like family and friends. And then third, I would say nonprofits and pharmaceutical companies. I mean, not saying like not that I'm like glorifying like pharmaceutical corporate like greed, but just it's just like it's the innovation that pushes the advancement of science
Mm-hmm.
that's so important to creating a difference in the improvement of our lives.
Right. Wow. Does anybody else have anything else? Any questions for Rachel?
Well, just a couple of things. I mean, first of all, yeah, we talked about sleep deprivation, all that. This stuff's exhausting to go through, let alone all the paperwork. And not only, I mean, I posted, 100 plus documents. That was were just the health ones, not all the financial ones and
Yeah.
concerns, this and that. I mean, it was just a ridiculous amount. And I understand you get scammers, but it was exhausting just
Yes.
to do that. So, it's a huge effort for us in that respect. So kudos to everyone who able to survive going through it. And then sometimes you get in these situations. I remember when I got fired from my narcolepsy and tried to get
Mm.
unemployment.
Yeah.
It was almost I'm too healthy to get the disability, but I'm not healthy enough to get unemployment because I got fired because I had a hard time getting to work. That wasn't the problem of being at work. So they're like, okay, well, no, you're not able to work. You can't get unemployment and all this stuff. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, okay, let me rephrase that. Ask me the questions again. Whatever you want, that's the answer is going to be. And and I ended up getting it, but it was like you can't, they just tear you apart. It's just like
They,
being in a court. Every word, everything, they just rip you apart on it. And so, you come away from it just feeling like such a loser,
yes. And the constant
unfortunately. And
guilt.
and hell, it causes depression right there.
Yeah, I'm
So
like,
it
of
was,
course it's there.
yeah, I don't know. It was, I mean, I didn't even, I went through the application process, compiled it, and had my little visit with them. And after that, no more. I couldn't even imagine the rest of it. And I was already sick of lawyers and stuff from the court case, let alone if I had to. So, gosh, there's so many obstacles against it. So, uh, kudos again, to everyone who's able to get through that. But yeah, in the end, I mean, you kind of figure, I mean, it's absolutely in the last resort because, they told me right when I handed in my stubs, like, well, no, you got two cars, you gotta get rid of one. You got more than a couple grand in the bank. It's like, no, that's for my kid's college. He's going to college in six
Yeah,
months. It's like, no, you can't have that. I'm like, oh man,
right.
I
You
was supposed to pay
can't.
for his college. Okay,
They
no, so I
don't
got to
care.
move funds around. So it looks like I got nothing there. But it was
If
actually
you
for his college.
if you are disabled, you don't deserve to have a safety net or anything nice. That seems to be
So
what they're saying. So you have to work like 5 times as hard, but get half as much for it.
yeah, I mean, it just was an incredibly hard thing. And so
Yeah,
anyone's got to go through that. I mean, it's absolutely last resort. I don't know how you can go through there and try to scam. It's too much freaking work.
it is.
Right.
You know, and we all know you, and every single one of us is like are hard workers, and the narcolepsy is not our will.
Yeah, the waiting, I don't know if I got anything. It took like 9 months for the first rejection. And
Mm.
by that point, I was just like, you know what? This is This is just not like the whole part where you get 800, or I mean, I think it was saying I was going to get like 650 if I got it, and it was like,
That's true.
how am I'm going to barely be able to pay my food for a month with my diet being gluten dairy free and all. And
Well,
I guess I'm just
see,
getting at the other constraints that it puts on you, to where if you actually were able to make like 1,500 $2,000 in a month, it's like, well, then you get dropped off. It's like such a cutthroat thing all around.
yes. And I can't even like for me being a woman, it's okay for me to be the housewife, but like I like to be the house husband. That's a little tougher for y'all. And it's not fair. But Western society kind of puts that pressure there. If you're not constantly active, you're nothing. And sometimes I think humans, like the really cool humans, are more thinkers, not just like do what everybody else is doing, but more like thinking.
Yeah, and that's part of the other side of it. You feel like you can no longer contribute, even if something came
Yeah.
along, because, even if it was something part-time or whatever,
Yeah.
that you're fear of losing it. Oh, because, oh no, you can do stuff, you volunteer now. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that would have any effect on anything, but, that's all you need is to, oh no, you're contributing too much to society, whether or not you're getting paid or not, so therefore you're not disabled. Who knows? It's just the bar is so high. It's
It is really, really
ridiculous.
high, and I mean, I'm in a lot better place where, and it is nice to not be on it anymore because being on the SSDI, by SSI and not the SSDI, there's just so much more into your business, and it's so limited, and it's not even that good that it's just, it was just, I just wish that the laws were a lot easier for the people that actually use it, instead of like it being us being like auditioning and fighting for scraps. And meanwhile, they don't even care how you keep a roof over your head tonight or even tomorrow, because it's not their head.
And for me, since I'm single, it's just me, no
Yeah,
husband or anything. So if I can't go 2 years with no income, you know,
right?
where do I live? How do I eat 2 years with no income? So even now, being back to work from short-term disability, the big thing is the management kind of watching my work with a fine-tooth comb now that I'm back, but they don't understand that these accommodations that I have in place, you have to follow the law,
Yeah,
whether they like it or not. Because I have appointments. I had one
sure.
last week. I got a different one into this week. It my supervisor, sometimes has a funny attitude even through email, but I don't really care because this is something I have to have. This I'm not. No one, none of us get narcolepsy or IH by choice.
You're right.
So that's the big thing. They kind of watch me with a fine tooth, come watch me very closely, but I don't care. I'm gonna do my
Yeah,
work at an excellent level. They can live with it. My goal, I'm 62 now. I don't want to retire now because the amount that I would get would be just too small. I'm trying to work 3 more years, period. And that's it. That's all I'm trying to do is squeak out
at
3 more years.
65. Yeah.
The year is 67 in Michigan for me to
Oh,
retire. I promise you, I'm not working to 67.
okay.
I'm not. I can't. I'm not. I do good to work now. I'm not doing that. 65 is it. So whatever happens, happens.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, it is. It's even, when you get to retirement age, it's another part of the process. And but hey, we're at time. This really was a great topic, and thank you again, Rachel. That was a great presentation.
Well, thank
I
you.
learned a lot. Like seriously, I mean, yeah, yeah, big time, big time. Yeah, really, it's great. We'll have this replayed, in our circle community. And then I also, just before we go, I do have an update. So yeah, we have this exciting news. We were supposed to have the TSA today for this Snapchat. They were going to do a presentation because we're a part of their coalition now. But because of the shutdown, we didn't want to bother them. But they actually called me today, and they were like, "Hey, we're ready to do it." So January, the second week of January, date to be determined. It'll be probably at an earlier time, just for their business hours, but they're going to do a presentation on just navigating the TSA, their TSA Cares program. They're going to talk about, the toolkit. And they get basically, we created a toolkit with them. And theirs is just a one pager that goes out to their officers or their agents in the field, that they can have with them to just learn about, cataplexy and how to work with people like us. So I think it's a great win. And then, our next project we're working on is another toolkit for first responders that includes law enforcement. I've heard now two separate stories from two individuals that happened this year where they were put in handcuffs while experiencing cataplexy and the other one while experiencing very severe sleep attacks while they were off their drugs, doing a clinical trial. Actually, it happened when they were doing the baseline sleep study.
Oh,
They were getting claustrophobic, like, I can't wear this stuff, and they were like, well, then you got to leave. And the person's like, well, where are you going to put me up? I mean, I flew halfway across the country to be here to do this, and that's when they called the police, and the police put that person in jail. Yeah. I mean, some crazy stuff. So definitely we're working on a toolkit, and then we're going to reach out to these departments to really start educating them on how to work with people like us. So they're not putting them in handcuffs, so a lot to come there. But yeah, really, thank you everyone, for attending. This was a great session. Loved it so much. It was just great seeing you all. And again, yeah, I look forward to having you with the TSA in January. And hey, we had a great year, so we'll close off this year, and hope you all have a very, wonderful, enjoy your holiday season that's coming up, and a happy.
yes.
Thank you. Great to see everyone again.
Yep.
Same to
Great
everybody.
seeing y'all too. Have a
Thank you.
great night.
Bye.
All
Have a
right.
great
Bye-bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye.